And then finally, the third part, which no one ever talks about to include the JFK movie, which I'll tell you in a second why they didn't include this section, was the Zionist angle. A lot of people don't know that back then, Israel had stolen a bunch of uranium from the United States. There was a factory in Pennsylvania, in Apollo, Pennsylvania, called NUMEC. And this factory was manufacturing a bunch of very high enriched uranium. And what was going on was the Jewish mafia, the Italian mafia, as well as a bunch of Israeli Zionists worked together to smuggle this uranium from the United States through South America, destined for what was back then mandatory British Palestine. And Kennedy got aware of this because a CIA guy went out to Dimona where they were doing a nuclear testing and tested the soil. And they found out that there was uranium in the soil, and the only place that was producing uranium that was that rich was the United States. So he was able to figure out, okay, these guys literally are trying to test for nukes. And Kennedy was very anti-war and anti-nuclear proliferation. So he tells Ben-Gurion, the prime minister, hey, we're going to start doing nuclear inspections. I suspect that you guys have nuclear weapons and you guys are testing them. And Ben-Gurion, knowing this, makes a fake like control lab, right, for nukes. And he sends the inspectors there, and Kenny finds out that it was BS, and he is obviously livid. So he's writing a bunch of letters going back and forth with Ben-Gurion saying like, look, if you guys don't allow us to inspect your nuclear capabilities, we're going to stop giving you guys aid. Now, for Israel, this was a big problem. This is a relatively new nation. They had been formed maybe less than 20 years ago. This is early 60s, 63, I think, to be exact. And they were created in 1948. So, and they're surrounded by enemies. The whole Arab world didn't want them there, and they had just got their independence. So they needed the nuclear weapon to deter the Arab world from attacking them. So they needed Kennedy gone because he was standing directly in their way of being able to protect themselves in their eyes by telling them to get rid of the nuclear weapons. Then on top of that, his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, was trying to get the Zionist Council, the AZC, the American Zionist Council, which is now AIPAC, to register under FAIR, which would mean they need to disclose the money that they're giving the politicians, where it's coming from. Well, why is that problematic? It's problematic because the way they were getting the funding was organized crime with the Jews and the Italians, like Meyer Lansky, Bugsy Siegel, et cetera, Murder Inc. They were, along with the Sunborn Institute, which was, a conglomerate of wealthy Jewish businessmen. They're working together, sending money and funding the politicians. So they didn't want where that money was coming from to be disclosed, because then it would reveal that we have Jewish gangsters working alongside Jewish businessmen and Jewish government officials to support Israel. So they needed Kennedy gone for that. So fair registration and the nuclear bomb is why. And then as soon as Kennedy gets killed, Lyndon B. Johnson is sworn in. He stops the nuclear inspections, stops the fair registration, gives them billions upon billions of dollars, and we've had unequivocal support of Israel ever since.